Hello everyone, my name is Willie Anderma, and I'm proud to present to you a Queen Black Dragon guide. The Queen Black Dragon is one of your higher level bosses. It's only soloable, and all the requirements, nothing that complex, nothing that difficult to achieve. Weaponry and gear, you don't need overpowered gear, you don't need Malevolent or Torva or anything of the sort. But what I'd recommend Bandos, Fight Killing Cape, Drygores of any type, or Chaotix, Dragon Rider amulets, and for your inventory, over here, I would recommend an extreme setup, followed by supers if you do not have extremes. Super anti-fire is preferred. If you do not have super anti-fire, the fight will be much more difficult, as you will need to bring a switch into a super anti-dragon shield, which is a dragon fire shield. 4 super restorers if you plan on going in for multiple kills, a unicorn with scrolls, and a teleout. This is what your inventory and your equipment should be. Like I mentioned before, full bandos, drygores, dragon rider amulets, fight killing cape. I did not mention the 6-stage circuits or the Sign of Life. Sign of Life is really for if you die. If you get time stopped and then die, it brings you back to life at the end of the time stop. And this gear is recommended. You don't have to have this gear. Recommended stats: 90 attack for Drygores, 75 strength, defense. Prayer, I would recommend 95 for Turmoil. And Constitution, that doesn't really apply here. Summoning, 88, or I think it's 68 for the War Tortoise. War Tortoise will allow you to have more inventories, like go through for more kills. But the Tortoise pouches at this current time are 20k, so they are expensive. Now to the boss fight. The boss fight is not too difficult, honestly. It will take some time to master it, though, as you'll need to know what's going on, how to avoid certain attacks, and basically, what are you doing. I would recommend your quick prayers, or quick curses. It's protect item, pray range, or deflect range, depending on what you have, turmoil, and or piety. Alright, let's enter the boss room. Once you enter the room, you will see the Queen Black Dragon. She's asleep. And this time, you want to drink your extremes and or supers. Then you could be all ready to fight. I would also recommend drinking your super anti-fire right after she screeches, because then you'll save at least about 5 seconds for your super anti-fire. So, while you're fighting the Queen, you may miss a lot, you may hit a lot, who knows. Revolution, it doesn't really make a difference whether you use Revolution or not. You can also prayer flick in here as well, but prayer flicking takes some time to master. As you're fighting the Queen, on phase 1 is only a firewall, only one firewall. You can just sit there and tank it. Once you get her down to no life points on the first phase, you just go over and activate the middle artifact. Phase 2, a tortured soul comes out, along with there being also 2 firewalls. Instead of there being 1, there will be 2 this phase. So it gets a little bit more rough as it continues. Just beat her down with whatever you've got. I'd recommend using 1 threshold and saving them for both on the 3rd phase, depending on what she does. So once you get her down to 0 life points, go to the southwest corner and activate the 2nd artifact. 3rd phase, once it starts, I would recommend using both of your thresholds immediately, because who knows, she could switch. She could switch to either melee resistance and or mage resistance. And on phase 3, there will be 2 tortured souls followed by 3 firewalls. Not in that order, they'll randomly happen. Alright, 4th phase, also known as the most violent phase. Activate the southeast artifact, and then continue the fight. In this phase, if the tortured souls come out, there will be 4 of them instead of 2, 4 firewalls, Super Fire Breath. And here come the Tortured Souls. I should maybe turn this thing on so I can see. Super Fire Breath here will deal you 1950 damage if you stand in the middle. Just stand out on the side. Not too difficult. Just make sure you're not using a threshold because you may have to stop the threshold. Now she's switched to melee resistant. So she's hardened her shell, so it's not as easy to deal damage. But on the fourth phase, you can get time stopped by the Tortured Souls. Time stop stops you in time. Its name basically explains it. But after you are time stopped, everything will be hitting you. Firewalls can still deal damage, but all the damage will be added up into the end. That's the problem. Okay, Lantidimes. Bank all. After the time stop is over, the damage will come back and hit you. All of the damage that was dealt to you in that time, like I said, will hit you. So it's best to keep your health high when the Tortured Souls spawn in. You will hear a sound though. It sounds like a whole ton of wind. And it's a really evil like sound. So, once you finish the fight, you have to go activate the last artifact, which is in the middle. It's not the middle like the first one, but behind that. Once you activate it, it'll end the fight, and then you have to go down the platform in the center, and it'll take you down into this room, where you can then open the Dragon King coffer and see what you get. It's not that difficult, honestly. But now, I'm going to show you what it's like with an anti-dragon shield, and you'll see the difference in how violent it is. Alright, now if you're going to be fighting the Queen Black Dragon without super anti-fires, you're going to be using a regular anti-fire, and a Dragon Fire shield and or anti-dragon shield. Whichever one works. But it's best to watch out. You do not know what's going to happen. Always watch the chat and have your mouse hovered over your Dragon Fire shield and or anti-dragon shield. Because if you see a red message in the chat that says the Queen Black Dragon takes a huge breath, put on your shield and you'll be fine. Just use one weapon. But then once the firewalls are over, then switch back to your other offhand, whatever you're using. It's best not to use 2 H's here, as they are not as efficient for kills. Alright, I do not fight this way. I always use super anti-fires. Do not expect me to survive. This is just a way of showing how violent it can be using this version. So I'm just watching the chat. I want to use the thresholds quickly because I want to end the phases fast. Same principles apply. There will be firewalls on the first phase. And it's best to keep your health high because you don't know. The Fire Breath is stronger than without super anti-fire. Phase 2. I am in luck. I have not been hit by a firewall yet. Right when you click on ability, if you have to, make sure that you move straight back to your anti-dragon shield or whatever you're using, because you do not want to die. Takes a huge breath, switching back. There you go. Now you can take firewalls. But yet, some of your abilities are now limited. You can only use certain abilities. But now that the firewalls are done, you can now switch back. There we go. Now we can activate the second artifact. Alright, moving on to the third phase. Keep your health really high here, because from here on out, firewalls, there are more of them, and it gets more rough as it goes. I think I've mentioned that like a million times, but it's always good to keep reminding yourself. And this was a really fast third phase. Alright. Keep your health almost full here. If you are a lower level, do not expect to get the kills as fast as I am. Because I'm maxed out and all frick me in the face. And that's where you get your anti-dragon shield on. I was not paying attention to chat, I just saw her moving and then I looked in the chat quickly. I was not prepared. As you saw, I got hit in 1125. That's what happens. As you can see, her skin has changed. It's now dark blue. When it's dark blue, she's weak to melee. You can deal a lot of damage. When her skin color is greenish, that's when she's resistant to it. She will not get hit as easily as you would expect. So, okay then, that's 500k. So, basically what I'm trying to say is, with blue equals damage, fast kill. Green equals slower kill, chance of failing. That's if you're using regular anti-fires. Well, in conclusion, Green Light Dragon, it's not a difficult boss. It's really simple, all it takes is practice. Good luck to those of you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.